It is episode 26 of the best podcast available. I'm Jason Gibbs alongside Andrew Gribble, and it's the final one before the Memorial Day weekend, week 10 of being in quarantine. We put out 26 episodes, Gribbs. Gribbs, we told the people upstairs we were only going to do like 30 the entire year, and that counted training camp and the draft BPA. We've exceeded expectations.
Oh yeah, we have taken it to another level, and I think it's amazing though. I think the Zoom situation, it opens up your schedule a little more. We've been able to tape at all different hours. I mean, it's come in handy when churning out podcasts. You're able to do more when you're in this situation, I think, than you can when you're in the office.
Yes. Although I am ready to go back to the office. I believe you are as well.
Yeah, I am. We'll see. We'll see when that happens. Our someone's got to watch my kids, so we'll see how long that. We'll see how long that lasts.
I gotcha. I understand. All right, coming up on the program today, Sione Takitaki, Browns linebacker, going to be in the mix. A lot expected from year one to year two. Our own Andrew Gribble had a chance to sit down with him earlier in the program, earlier in the day to tape. And we're looking forward to that. And Gribbs, a guy a lot is expected of here in 2020, not just from a defensive standpoint, but one would think on special teams as well.
Yeah, I thought he was pretty good on special teams last year. And I think it's weird. There's a couple things with Takitaki. First off, you remember he came out like a bat out of hell at the start of training camp and was just making huge hits. He was ruffling some feathers. But then he got injured, and that was a pretty significant injury. He missed basically most of the preseason after that. And then secondly, even if he was healthy, I don't know if he was going to be in line for playing all that much because he was backing up Joe Schobert, and Joe Schobert stayed healthy, whereas Mack Wilson was backing up Christian Kirksey, and then Kirksey gets hurt. So Mack Wilson got the opportunity at a position he knew well, whereas Takitaki had to kind of fight for some snaps here and there when they came about, whether it be on special teams or kind of spelling Schobert, or when they used three linebackers, which wasn't all that often. So I almost think he gets a bad rap for his first season just because he wasn't able to play as much as Mack Wilson was. So I do think he's very much in the mix this season.
All right, looking forward to that interview coming up here in just a few moments. But the latest news and notes, the Browns preseason schedule is officially out. Gribbs, a much different schedule than we've seen in the past. One national TV game in week 3 against the Vikings at home. But Saturday afternoons, I hope you like that, and I hope you have those free, Browns fans, because that's when you're going to be playing the preseason football games.
Yeah, I like this, and I don't know when the NFL decided to embrace daytime during the preseason. I think it's great. I mean, I don't know why we were operating under a situation where all these games were crammed at night. I think it makes a lot of sense. So I was thrilled to see. I mean, we had one last year with the Colts. That was a 4:00 kick, but otherwise I think they were all night games last year. But these have slowly crept into being normal. Now you're dealing with a 1 p.m. kick to start the preseason, noon local in Chicago. I think it's great. It feels more like the regular season. Like, I think it gets you in more of a routine that will be more similar to the preseason. And for someone who's traveled for these preseason games for the last 5 years, I mean, nothing drains you more than a road trip where you're playing a night game. And it's just like, when it's the preseason, it's like, what's the point? Like, why are we doing this to ourselves for a preseason game? Let's make this more like the regular season, and let's get you in and out of your location in a shorter amount of time. I think it's great.
I think it will be interesting with that dress rehearsal game being on Sunday, and then to have to turn around and play on Thursday. I guess one would have to think we will definitely not see a lot of the starters in that fourth preseason game with such a quick turnaround.
Zero. I mean, that's the way it's been the last couple of years, and it's hard to even find guys that are playing in that game who end up making the team. I mean, you obviously play some people because you got to fill out the roster, but that's the showcase game for guys that are hoping to get some good football on tape and potentially move on to their next location or fight for practice squad spots.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see. You know, their first two road games. First two games of the preseason on the road at Chicago and then at Green Bay. And then you come home from Minnesota, and There's that Tampa Bay game, but good news. It's at
Hey, they got to travel for us now.
Yeah, exactly.
About time.
And as you'd be excited for Tampa for all the obvious reasons, except all the obvious reasons aren't going to be playing in that game.
What are the Vegas odds of Tom Brady playing in that last game? Like, could you bet $1 and win $1 billion to make that happen? Because he ain't playing.
No, not at all. It will be an interesting week 4 of the preseason, but at least it's at home and not on the road.
But I do think maybe do we get the national buzz of Tampa Bay coming over? Like, because that they're the it team this year. Does that even work in the preseason, or will we feel that when they're in town?
It's a great question. At that point, and I think I speak for both of us when we say we get done with that third preseason game and we just go, okay, let's just fast forward to the cut down day and then let's play some real football.
Yeah,
that's where we're at. J.C. Tretter spent some time with the Cleveland media this week as the offseason virtual workouts continue, and spoke for 20 minutes. Had a lot to say about a lot of different things, and not just as the Browns center, but as the president of the players union. Your takeaways from J.C. Tretter in his meeting with the media the other day?
I mean, listen, I think the key thing is you and I have gotten to know JC now for the last couple of years, and we know how smart of a guy this is. I mean, this is a brilliant guy playing that just happens to play football. And I think when he talks, it's clear why he is now in this role with the NFLPA. He has a lot to offer, and I think that was the theme to me, where he's working on learning a new playbook, but he's also looking out for what's best for these players and taking his new role very seriously. I thought he did a great job of kind of not really taking a side, but informing everyone before that major vote that seems to be lost to history because it happened right before the quarantine went into effect. But passing the CBA at that point in time, had that not passed, I mean, think of all the uncertainty that's hanging over the league right now with just the schedule. I mean, that would be another wrinkle added to the equation right now that doesn't have to deal with. So I think the NFL's in good, the Players Association is in good hands with J.C. Tretter. That's my takeaway on that, because I think he's taking the job seriously. It just shows he's applying himself so much more because he has a lot to offer. And I think that he was the right guy for the job. And again, they're in good hands. And I think when he was talking about all the stuff that I think he was rightly bringing up, all the stuff involving players and getting back in buildings, because I think, you know, a lot of the focus is on these games happening and fans and everything like that. But, you know, the players want to be thought of as well. And I think that's fair. And I think it's great to hear from his perspective as well.
Yeah, no, I think one of the biggest non-union, non-coronavirus takeaways from his 20 minutes with the media, he is a big fan of Jack Conklin. Yeah.
And he's taken on that mentorship role maybe more so than he could in the past. And I think that what he has in these two new rookies, in Jedrick Wills and Nick Harris, they're willing learners, and I think they want to help out as best as possible. And I think the mental aspect of all this is so much more important than maybe it has been in years past because of the situation. And also, you know, JC just signed his contract extension. He's an established NFL veteran. When he came here 3 years ago, he signed a good contract, but he was also trying to prove himself. I think he had come off some injury-plagued seasons in Green Bay. You know, now he's established. This is a guy that's made his earning in the NFL. And I think there's a layer of being comfortable with where he's at and being able to help these guys even more.
Yeah, there's a lot to be determined. And he said it himself. There's no point in making decisions on what's going to happen with the 2020 league right now. There's still plenty of time. We are in May. It's coming quickly, but there's still a lot of things to be figured out and some things that could make life a little bit easier for everyone in terms of football coming back in 2020.
Yeah, I think, again, as he said, he's going by a 2-week at a time approach. And I think that's advice that could be applied to all walks of life, not just in the NFL right now.
Yeah, no question about it. All right, time to hear from our linebacker, Sione Takitaki. Had a chance to sit down with Andrew Gribble We appreciate him taking the time to do that in amongst his virtual workouts and virtual off-season meetings. Have a watch and have a listen.
All right, we're joined here by Browns linebacker Sione Takitaki. And Sione, how's life been for you these last couple months going through the off-season program without seeing any of your teammates in person?
Yeah, it's been crazy. Just because I know that we, should be back in Cleveland right now, but I feel like this time has just been weird for everybody. The whole world has been affected by this. But it's been good. Also just spending extra time with my wife, my family. Getting to see them for a little extra time before we, jet back to Cleveland. So it's been good and bad.
Yeah, run me through your kind of daily routine. Has this started to feel normal though now with the way with meetings and everything like that?
Yeah, it's gotten normal. I wake up, my workouts. I'm in Utah right now, so I'm 2 hours from. I'm on West Coast time, but anyways, I wake up probably 7, work out from like 7 to 10:30. Then I get home and kind of review, all the stuff that the coaches kind of, installed for the day. Watch over that until 12:30 until meetings. Usually it's kind of fresh on my mind, and then go over it with Coach Tarver, Coach Bloom, Bravo, and then also all the other linebackers. It's been good to talk to them over Zoom and hang out.
Have you learned something about yourself and the way you learn because you've been challenged this way?
Yeah, I feel like I learned better this way. I feel like them doing the videos, I was able to pick it up quicker just because I'm one-on-one in a room, nice and quiet. You kind of just lock yourself out and kind of just jot down all the notes. And I feel like, even though I had a year, to learn all this stuff, I definitely feel like this way of my learning has definitely benefited me.
And what's the camaraderie been like in these Zoom meetings? How do you guys joke around with each other, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's fun. We got Coach Tarver. He's a cool, relaxed guy. Definitely throwing jokes out there. And then we got Mac and Willie in the room too, who are really funny guys who always keep the room all nice and calm. But it's been good, man. We all been, busting jokes, chopping it up with each other, but definitely getting after the playbook part, you know what I mean, and making sure just over this last, month or two that we've been doing these Zoom meetings, just everybody's been, on, doing well, picking up everything that the coach is teaching, and it's been good.
I know that when you're getting drafted and going through that process, everyone talks about how that time period is like the craziest few months. It's kind of nonstop, and then you really get to rest in your first off season after your rookie year. What's that been like, and how has that been different? Compare yourself this year to what you were feeling at this time last year.
Yeah, and I feel more prepared. I don't know if that sounds not that I wasn't prepared last year, but just going in this year mindset wise and X's and O's and the little things that I needed to work on. You know what I mean? Just I feel like this year, this off season, I can definitely just tune into those things and tune up all the stuff that I needed to work on personally and on the field, off the field, whatever it was. From last year, last year I was preparing combine stuff, 40 and doing all that stuff, preparing a lot of time in that. From this year, just specifically football drills and whatnot. And
How different is that preparation? I mean, because obviously you're trying to get yourself in the best shape of your life at this time last year. I mean, how different are those things that you're doing?
Yeah, it's real different just because, like I said, you're kind of working out for, to test, to do, certain drills, certain number at the combine. You're spending a lot of time working on your 40-yard dash, interview process with teams and stuff. You're kind of focusing your time on that coming in as a rookie. From this year, you focus on all the stuff that you need to work on going into year 2, knowing that, okay, I need to get this stuff better. And one thing for me, was just X's and O's, alignment assignments, little things like that. I was able to pick up the defense so quickly just because I had a year under my belt just to learn from, even Coach Holcomb, all the old coaches, and then carrying on to, Coach Tarver and those guys. It's been a night and day.
How different is that linebacker room right now without Schobert and Kirksey? What's how does it feel, and how is it taking on its own identity right now?
Yeah, I feel like, we're still all meshing. You know, it's a different kind of feel. You know, with Kirko and Schober, those guys are two, you know, guys that been playing, you know, vets, established themselves well in the league, and we're able to lean on those guys, you know, just because they're the older guys in the room, has been through it, you know, asking a ton of questions. I feel like this year, you know, we got BJ, who's been playing, you know, 5 or 6 years in the league, and he's kind of been that, you know, vet in the room, you know, kind of just direct us what he thinks and whatnot. But I feel like, you know, me, Mac, and the rest of the guys who got a year on the belt also, you know, can kind of step up to the plate and kind of run the room, or, you know, and all the other guys, you know, we got Jacob and, you know, the other rookie that came in who are picking up the defense. And I feel like as time goes on, I feel like we'll definitely mesh, you know, more and figure each other out, you know. But it's kind of weird, you know, to kind of, you know, feel it through Zoom meetings, you know what I mean? I feel like we get back to the building, you know, we'll definitely, you know, vibe more than what, you know, we've been given.
What kind of confidence does it say that the organization is going with you young guys in that room? And does that kind of boost your confidence about heading into this year, that they feel good with you guys right now?
Yeah, I feel like you always got to have the confidence on your shoulder to play at a high level like this. So I'm confident in all the guys in the room, man, myself and Mac, Willie, you know, BJ, you know, Jacob, all the other guys that's in the room, that we can go and make a splash. I feel like we got a lot to prove. I feel like a lot of people are counting us out, but we like that. You know, we like the chip on the shoulder. We can continue to keep our head down, continue to work, continue to get better in the Zoom meetings, and keep attacking this offseason until they tell us it's time, you know?
You mentioned the part about being counted out. How much has that stuff kind of penetrated your guys' group? Like, and then how much is that driving you guys?
I feel like not too much. You know, you tend to not pay attention to that stuff. You know, I feel like I've always been underdog my whole story. So that alone, you know, I just carry that, you know, with everything I do. But you know, I definitely don't focus in on all the negative stuff, though. You know what I mean?
How different is this defense for you compared to last year? Is it like learning a brand new defense, or is it kind of similar in what you're?
It's real similar, just different verbiage. You know, once you pick up a scheme in the NFL, you know, a defense, it's easy for. I feel like just going into this year, it's so easy to pick up, you know, the next defense, because it's all the same: alignments, assignments, drops, you know, final 3, final 2. It's just all different verbiage. But once you get the verbiage down and continue to go over the play calls and where you align, where your threats are, where your, you know, issues are in the defense, you'll be totally fine.
What do you like most about what you've seen so far?
I feel like it's a simple defense that you know, obviously you got to know where your line, you got to know where your threats are. But once you figure that out, you can fly around and make plays. Play fast out there, and I feel like there's a lot of guys that got a lot, you know, just in the linebacker room, there's a lot of talent that we can make plays.
And then when you were able to get on the field last year, mostly in the second half of the season, how valuable were those snaps toward what you're looking forward to this year?
Yeah, extremely valuable. You know, you want to get out there and feel the game time experience. I feel like, you know, like you said, I started playing more towards, you know, the second half of the season because I started to get, you know, I wouldn't say comfortable, but, you know, I start to, you know, fill it out and start to become, you know, football, you know, what I've been playing. But, yeah, extremely important. You know, now I can build on that, what I learned last year, you know, ending the season, going into this season and, you know, make a bang.
How much fun did you have on special teams last year?
Tons of fun, man. Special teams, man. Don't sleep on special teams. Special teams is an important thing for, you know, for a team, for an organization. You know, you definitely, you know, you get those plays out there. You got to go out there and make a play here and there, wherever it is. Kick off, kick return. Go out there and do your part.
What's been the bond like between you and Mac? I mean, you guys have been in the same draft class, your roommates and everything like that. What's that bond been like, and how has that helped you through your first year in the NFL?
Yeah, I feel like you said, we coming in as linebackers together, and that class is definitely, you know, brought that bond together because, you know, we came in together. But I feel like just over the year, you know, we were roommates, you know, during training camp, and roommates during the season. And we actually lived by each other. So, you know, just growing that relationship off the field and on the field has been great with my dude. yeah, to see him ball out last year, you know what I mean? He definitely grew a lot. And he's going to have a big year too, this year coming up. Be on the lookout for 5-1.
How do you guys complement each other when you're on the field? Like what does he do well that feeds off?
It's funny. Yeah, we compliment our type. We talk a lot of, we talk a lot of stuff to each other, man. That's kind of me and him, even though, we have that bond, we always, talking a lot of crap in the Zoom meetings, in the film room, wherever we can. But nah, I feel like him, he's a guy, he could do both. He could play the run, he could play the pass. And I feel like just having that year under his belt, he's going to go into year 2, for a big one.
I know you've probably already talked to him a lot, but as someone who was a third-round linebacker last year, you got Jacob Phillips in the room this year. What's the biggest piece of advice that you want to give him in this situation, and maybe the one that hit you the most when you were coming in the league in his position?
Yeah, just I feel like Jacob is far from where I was coming in. I feel like him being able to pick up, the defense pretty well has been good. Just being in the Zoom meetings, I would say that's the biggest one. If you know where that line and your assignments and whatnot, football's football. You get out there and make plays, but you got to know you got to know what to do. And that'd be my biggest advice to Jacob. You know what I mean? And he's been doing really well in Zoom meetings, picking everything up. So it's been good.
And then you're a guy that clearly loves playing the game. Your excitement is pretty clear when you're out in the field. I mean, what do you think about when you're thinking about that first time you can actually get back out there and even though you're not going through it now, like this long wait to get back on the field? What's that been like for you?
Yeah, it's been kind of funny. Usually you don't wait this long until to be around some football, but I just let it build up. I feel like going into the season, I got a lot to prove. So, I can't wait to get back with the guys. Being around in the locker room, man, the bus rides, all that stuff is exciting. I can't wait to get back there and help the team any way possible.
And just overall, what have you thought about the moves on defense and kind of the new faces in a lot of different places and what you guys might be able to build beyond the linebacker room right now?
Yeah, it's been good. The coaches that came in, I feel like, there's a lot of players that are coming back from last year. I feel like we could build on last year because we got a really extremely good, talented defense. And I feel like we're putting all the puzzles together, with hard work and through these Zoom meetings. And I know once we get back in the building, that'll carry on. So, we get all those puzzles together, man. We got something great.
All right, Sione, I really appreciate you taking the time for us, and then looking forward to seeing you back in the facility whenever we can get that done.
Yes, sir. Hey, thanks for letting me come on.
Thanks again to Sione Takitaki, Browns linebacker, for a few minutes of his time. Gribs, around the league, Adam Shine, NFL.com, tries to predict the NFL's next great dynasty. So he's got 9 teams that are eligible for this. At number 9, our own Cleveland Browns. And his comments are this is not a drill, people. Cleveland now has a bright general manager, a qualified coach, a quarterback entering year 3 as a starter, and gobs of talent. It's the Browns' time to shine. The chip is back on Baker Mayfield's shoulder following a highly disappointing 2019 campaign with a loaded offensive cast around him and an upgraded Kevin Stefanski-led coaching staff in his ear. Mayfield should be poised for a major bounce back in 2020, and Cleveland has the youth to become a force for years to come. Nice to see, coming off a 6-10 season, that not everybody's burying the Cleveland Browns after last year.
No, and I think it comes down to, obviously there's a lot to prove here, but when you have the core pieces that the Browns have, and I think that's what Andrew Berry has talked about a lot, what Kevin Stefanski's talked about a lot, there's obviously areas on this roster to issue, but when you have an elite pass rusher, a quarterback you believe can be elite, in Baker Mayfield, who's still very young, and an elite corner in Denzel Ward, those are great players at the early parts of their career at the most important positions on the field. And I think that alone puts you in good shape. So I think that, to me, again, lots to prove, but I think that's why you can qualify the Browns as a team that is set up potentially for long-term success, which I think is what he's going at in this article.
All right, so I'm going to give you the other teams on his list. We will say yay or nay to Adam Shine and his predictions of the NFL's next great dynasty. The Tennessee Titans, yay or nay, Gribbs?
Nay.
Yes, agreed.
I can't get behind Tannehill with your quarterback situation. That's the one thing. And two, when your identity is tied to a running back and the power running and what he's able to do to control games, that's again, Derrick Henry's great, but he's already been in the league a few years. You wonder how long that type of offense and that type of just ability to run people over, how long that lasts. And you let Jack Conklin go. Is that offensive line going to be as good next year? I have questions. I have questions about them this season, let alone in the future.
Yeah, my whole thing with the Titans, I look at them and I go, were they one of those teams that just everything fell their way that last year? I'm not saying they're totally lucky because they have a good coach and I like some of the pieces that they have, but I just wonder, did everything go right this past season for them to make that AFC Championship run?
Yeah, I wonder about just the core pieces. I think that's my issue because they've hit on some draft picks the last couple of years. I think Jeffrey Simmons was a great pick for them, helped them a lot down the stretch. A.J. Brown, they obviously got great value out of him. But their last few first-round picks, basically from 16 on, are either not on the team or they're not core pieces. I think Corey Davis obviously hasn't been as good as they thought he would be. Rashaan Evans is fine. He's a linebacker for them. And I think that Harold Landry's been solid, but I don't know if you lump him in as like these core people you build around moving forward. So I just need to see more. Do I think the Titans have a chance to win the division again this year? Yeah. I just don't know about the long-term pieces in place until I see better at quarterback.
The LA Chargers, he's got yay or nay to a potential dynasty.
I mean, I like him better than the Titans long term, but it all depends on how good Justin Herbert is. I think that's the key. I think the Chargers have been one of those teams that consistently year after year have had such talented players, but have underachieved. And I think that they have talented players in spots. Joey Bosa on defense. They've got the great wide receivers, great skill players at running back. And Phillip Rivers was solid for a while, but just couldn't get them over the hump. So this all falls on the shoulders of Justin Herbert. If he's good as advertised or even better, then sure, I think they've got a lot of pieces in place on both sides of the ball to be really good. It just all depends on the quarterback.
Yeah, I just wonder how they go about paying some of those stars on defense whose contracts are going to be coming up here sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
The Buffalo Bills, yay or nay?
I'll go yay on this one. And it really, again, I'm going to be a broken record here. It all depends on Josh Allen. It all depends on the quarterback. Can he take the next step and elevate them? But I think the thing I like about the Bills is they've got a good culture in place. They've got a good coach. They've got good, talented players on both sides of the ball. They know how to win games in a lot of different ways. And now you see what they're doing with Stephon Diggs. Now they're throwing the talent into the culture, basically, and elevating a team that maybe is overachieving and now trying to get them to a level where they can be elite every year. So I like what the Bills are doing, so I'll go yay on their potential.
I would go yay for exactly what you just said in terms of building things. McDermott's done a nice job. They have some really nice little pieces. I'm a little concerned how Stephon Diggs fits into that locker room because that locker room's not a lot of me guys. And let's be honest, he's a me guy. He's a wide receiver. I mean, that happens. So I'm interested to see how he fits in, but I think that's a talented team that could make a nice little run over the next few years. So the Philadelphia Eagles, I'm going to tell you right now, I still don't buy Carson Wentz as the long-term answer here, and I don't know if the Eagles do either.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the fence with them just because I think they're a mishmash of – they've got some young talent, and I think the Eagles, when they were playing at that level with Wentz during their Super Bowl season, they were awesome. I mean, they were so good, and he was playing at such a high level. I just wonder if the way he plays the game leads to being at risk for more injuries because he has an injury history now going back to college. So I'm a little more on the fence with them, but they are another team where I implicitly trust the GM. I implicitly trust the coach. So I'm more yay than nay, but I do worry about Wentz, and I do worry a little bit about that defense, which has kind of been pieced together year after year with different kind of big name free agents, and now they added Darius Slay, another big name there. But I'm not seeing the kind of the program maybe defensively that has been there the last couple years.
I do like their front office, and I really like their coach. So I can understand. You might sway me on that one over to the yay side, because I wasn't nay. Wentz has to stay on the field, and I don't know if he has the ability to do that or not do that. And there's no Nick Foles in the wings. There is Jalen Hurts, though. So the Dallas Cowboys, yay or nay?
I mean, if we're talking like this season, I'm all about the Cowboys. I just don't know about long term. I think that's the key of a dynasty, because I just think they're going to have a lot of money tied to a very few amount of people, and I think that can be a problem, especially when it seems to be lopsided toward the offensive side of the ball. So I worry about their long term future. I think that they're a Super Bowl contender this year, but I just can't put them in the dynasty discussion just because I feel like they might have missed the window where Dak was cheap, and now they're going to be paying him a lot of money, and that's where I worry about the dynasty.
I would say no. I think they are built to win now.
Yes.
And that is it. And then we'll cross the next bridge. Jerry will cross the next bridge when he gets to it. I'm not sure how long a run McCarthy can have. We have no idea what's going to happen with Dak Prescott, and Andy Dalton's in the wings there. I don't know. I would say no right now when it comes to the Cowboys. The Baltimore Ravens, and I feel like it's going to pain both of us to say what we're about to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've got – I mean, they're like what we hope the Browns can be soon. And I think they've already reached that point. Now their next hump is getting over the hump in the playoffs. I think they've got the pieces in place. They got their quarterback with Lamar Jackson. They're building something offensively. I think this year is going to be huge with how the league spends an offseason making adjustments to what they did and trying to – because they're going to have to – the Ravens are going to have to continue to adapt. And I think that's the key thing. But they clearly – what the Ravens have had for years, and this predates Lamar, is a culture on defense where they can continuously bring in new people, let the expensive guys go, and continue to be good. Even when they're not like a top 5 defense, they're never below like a top 10 defense. And I think that's now that they've got the offense figured out, that's what makes them good long term. And it really goes back to the defense just culturally being as good as it's been for so long.
Yeah. Personnel, they draft well. I mean, Ozzie is just an advisor now, but they haven't missed a beat with the new GM. Harbaugh has his system running on all cylinders. I still question what Lamar Jackson can do, and Lamar Jackson still has to prove that he can win a playoff game. But the rest of the team is built to win and built to win long term.
The key thing for the Ravens, and they had such an amazing season last year that they rarely had adversity in games. And the games where they trailed, they lost. And I think that's the key thing. When they jumped on these teams early, they're a team where when they have a lead, you're in trouble. I think that's the way they run their offense. But when the Browns were able to put them in a deficit, they didn't look like the same team. When they were facing the Chiefs early in the season, they didn't look quite as efficient. And then even in that Steelers game, they had to slog through it. And then obviously the playoff game, they were behind, and they just something about that offense doesn't operate the way it's supposed to when they're trying to come from behind. And I think that's going to be the key thing, because there's no way they have a season like they had last year. That was the dream season. It's all coming back from that. But I think clearly I think they're in okay hands.
The San Francisco 49ers, 2 teams left, and they're the 2 teams that played in the Super Bowl. The 49ers.
Yeah, I like their prospects, because I think Jimmy G took way too much heat last year. I think he's better than what like people are talking about.
Really?
I just think I don't think he's the thing holding them back. I don't. I think that they've got, and I think that they succeeded last year with clear deficiencies on areas of the team that they've tried to make better in this offseason. So yeah, I think they're in good hands there, and I think they've set things up nicely. And they've set up things nicely when they've whiffed on some big picks, and they've still been this good. I mean, you whiff on Solomon Thomas, you whiff on Reuben Foster. I mean, those are big picks that have not panned out. mean, Reuben Foster definitely did not pan out. Solomon Thomas has just been okay. But those were huge picks that just did not pan out for the 49ers, and they're still in pretty good shape.
And with Kyle Shanahan, I think you're never out of it if you're the 49ers. And I think we can both agree, yay, on this one, the Kansas City Chiefs really could start something, and they just keep adding pieces and weapons and moving forward here.
Yeah, that line about they returned 20 of 22 starters from last year, that's scary. And I think the key thing for them is I think now over the next few years, they're going to have to invest heavily on their defensive side of the ball, because I think that Mahomes has shown he can make it work with whoever's out there, basically. And I think that they can plug whoever at running back. They can they've got to pay Kelsey, and you probably pay Tyreek Hill. I think they've done that, but I think those are the two guys you need on offense. Fill it in with a bunch of other guys, and then invest on defense. Because if you shore up that defense and make it even better than it's been, I mean they're going to be tough as long as Mahomes is playing for them.
Yeah, that defense got hot at just the right time last year. I think it was week 10, week 11. They started to turn it around. They'd given up a lot in the first 10 weeks, but they turned things around. Were playing their best football when it mattered, and were able to, of course, win the Super Bowl. So that is yay or nay in terms of dynasties. Are you buying or selling Big Ben, his haircut, his makeover, and now he's ready to go?
I mean, I don't know. I think, like, clearly he is an upgrade over whatever the Steelers used at quarterback last year. I mean,
yes.
But I do think we never got a true glimpse of the combination of Roethlisberger at this age in an offense without Antonio Brown. I think that to me is something that is the unknown that the Steelers have to grapple with going into the season, because it wasn't looking great before he got hurt. And how much of that was due to the injury? How much of that was the opponents? They got smoked by the Patriots to start the year last year, and then played the Seahawks, who were also pretty good before he went down with the injury. That's the one unknown that I don't know if it gets talked about enough with the Steelers, because Antonio Brown was a heck of a security blanket for that offense. He opened up everything for everyone. And I think that I want to see that offense now with what is probably going to be running back by committee and a bunch of young receivers. And I will that is the biggest test for Roethlisberger coming back on top of the injury. So a lot of variables in the air there with the Steelers.
Yeah, I think a lot of questions on the offensive line, losing a couple tight ends. You drafted a running back out of Maryland in the 4th round, a kid that I think shows a little bit of promise, but is Connor able to stay healthy? Who knows what's going to happen with him?
The way they've loaded up at running backs tells me it's running back by committee. I mean, they've got Connor, Samuels, and then Benny Snell and this new guy from Maryland. I mean, that's a lot of investment at the position.
Yeah, that's a lot, and I'm not sure, you probably need maybe another wide receiver or two as well, or another weapon for Ben to throw the football to. But we'll see what happens with that. Hope everybody has a fantastic Memorial Day weekend, or as good a weekend as you can have in this environment and in this climate. We are going to be off on Tuesday. We will be back with you next Thursday, and then we'll get back into the two a week, I should say, from the best podcast available. You can log on to clevelandbrowns.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Like and subscribe today to the best podcast available. You can also check us out on our YouTube page, youtube.com/Browns. Gribbs, I hope you enjoy a few well-deserved days off, and we will see you back here next week, my friends.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it.
All right. Thanks to Jeff McDaniel for all of his help. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to the best podcast available.